Alright everyone, it's finally time to write this CSS code. I've been trying to do this for the last couple of videos, but things have taken a bit too long. First it was the bootstrap stuff, and afterwards it was the serving of the static files, but it's finally time to write the CSS code. So like I said the last two videos, if you wanted to skip this part, you could just download the zip file and then go to the login.css file. In that zip file, copy all the code from there and just paste it in here, and then you'll be up to date and you can skip this video. If you want to look at the CSS and see how we write it, then continue watching it. Let's do it. So let's go ahead and start writing some style then. So the first thing I'm going to do is right click and click inspect element or inspect, and you could write the CSS code directly in the CSS file like this, that's fine, but by doing it in the browser like this, it means that you get to see your changes as you type. So let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. It's not very big font, so that might be a bit better. What I'll do is I'll go to the sources tab like this, and if I press Command P on my machine, or Control P if you're on a Windows machine, you should be able to open this file up, and then from there you can type in login.css and open that file. So I found the file right here. If I click on that, you'll see this style right here, which matches what we have in our login.css file. So great. What I'm going to do is get rid of that. I'm deleting that, and you can see that it's changed this style to black again. And what I'm going to do is actually pop this out. So I'll click on the three dots right there, and I'll just click on the pop out one right here, just so it pops into a new window. Let me just make that a little bit bigger for you. And okay, let's try this. I'll write the code there. Can I make this a bit smaller? Yeah, that'll do. I'll resize if I need to. But anyway, the first thing we'll do is add some style to the body, and we'll just set the background color. So background color, and we're going to use this blue color. I've got the value written down here. It's a hex color, so 0099FF. It gives us this nice blue color. You are free to use whatever color you want, of course. This is just the color I'm going to use. And then after that, we're going to style the wrapper element. Now if I go to the elements tab, you'll see the wrapper element is this one right here. It's the element which wraps our entire HTML structure. Okay, so I'll go back to the sources tab, and if you wanted to, you could also style it from here instead. If I click on the wrapper element, you'll see this style that we added. So what I can do is write the style here if you want to. So I'll say display flex. Now this just means it's going to use flexbox. Now flexbox is a real nice CSS method which allows us to use, as the name suggests, flexible display. It's kind of hard for me to explain without writing more flex styles, so I'll probably explain flexbox as I go. I don't want to spend too much time on CSS in this course. This isn't an HTML introduction course or anything like that, so we're not going to be covering CSS in a massive amount of detail. If you do want to learn about this stuff in more detail than I'm explaining, if you just Google Flexbox CSS, you'll find a ton of great tutorials. Definitely worth having a look at those. If you've never used Flexbox before, it will probably make your life a whole lot easier going forward. But if you're fine with my brief explanations, then just carry on and yeah, follow along with me. We've said that this element is going to use Flexbox or Flex. And then we'll also say justify content. It's going to be center. Oops, if I can spell center right. Justify content center, and you can see it's pushed all the elements into the middle. And then the last thing we'll do is add a bit of a margin top. So margin top is going to be 20 pixels like this. Okay, so we added a little margin on the top there, and you can see if I go back to the sources tab, all that code we just added is right there for us. Okay. And it's worth noting that if I refresh the page now, this is going to go away. So if you want to make sure you still have this, you should take all of that. So I've just pressed Command A or Control A if you're on a Windows machine, and I'm copying it, and I'll go back to my file, and I'll just replace everything there. Now if I refresh the page, you'll see it's still there. If you didn't save it first when you refresh the page, everything's gone. Okay, anything you do in the browser right here has not saved. So underneath that, let's style the login container element. Now the login container one is again inside the wrapper. It's this login container element. So let's say padding is going to be 20 pixels. I wonder if I can move this down here actually. Maybe that'll be a bit better for you to see. I'll also close that down so we've got some more space. Okay, hopefully this is a bit easier for you. But anyway, padding, 20 pixels. And if I hover over that element, you should be able to see the green padding right there, the green border around it. That's the padding. The width is going to be 80 pixels. Sorry, 80%, not 80 pixels. 80%, and again, just to hover over that, you'll see what that's done. You can see the width of it now is 80% of the page width. Max width is going to be 500 pixels. So we're saying, although it's 80% width here, even if we resize the window, it will still only get a maximum of 500 pixels wide. We'll then say border. Border is going to be 1 pixel. It's going to be a solid border, and then the color is going to be another value I have here, DE, 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 which is a kind of a gray color. Don't worry, it'll all come together very shortly. We'll then say background color is going to be white, so that's $FFF, that's the value for white. You could also just write white directly, it's the same thing. Okay, we'll then say text align, align is going to be center, so it's moved all the text into the middle like that. And then let's add a bit of a box shadow to this. So what we're going to do is say box shadow. Now the value of this isn't quite so friendly. We're going to say 0, 1px. I'm going to type this out first and then I'll explain it. 0, 1px, 4px, and then the color, which is going to be RGBA. So RGBA is red, green, blue, alpha. It's a way of using a color, but also specifying a transparency. So we're going to say black, which is 0, 0, 0. So the red, green, and blue values are all 0. And then the A value for alpha, which is the transparency, is going to be 0.3. Okay. So I don't know if you can see this, but it's actually done a very subtle box shadow there. It's not so massive, but it's a subtle one, which just looks quite nice. So to explain what these values mean, if I go back to the Elements tab and find this login container one, you'll see I can click on one of these values. So for example, this 1px, I can increase the value and you can see what it does. So the first one, the 0, is the horizontal offset. The second one is the one I'm on now is the vertical offset. So by changing that, it changes the up and down. The horizontal offset was the left and right. And then the 4px is the blur. So if I change the 4px one, press up and down on that, you'll see, well, it's hard to see, but you can just about tell that it's getting a bit more blurry, or the blur's getting wider. So that's what that is. And then if you change the color, maybe change this from 0.3 to a 0.8, it gets like a bit darker because I'm taking away the transparency. A 1, for example, is just totally black with no transparency. And a 0 is just totally transparent, so you can't see it. So we're saying 0.3, which is just enough that you can see it slightly, all right? So that's the border shadow CSS property, but don't worry about that too much. For the most part, we'll just copy and paste this if we ever need to use it again. So one thing to know about the box shadow property is that it's not supported in all the browsers like this. So what we need to do to make sure we support all of them, I'm actually going to copy this whole box shadow one and paste it below. And then I'm going to, at the start of this one, I'm going to say dash WebKit dash box shadow. So I've just added dash WebKit dash to the front of that. I'll paste it again below. Then I'll say dash Moz dash, and that's Moz as in Mozilla. This is for Firefox. And then that's it. So we've added those two for WebKit browsers. Chrome is one, but Chrome seems to support this as well, so it's okay. But also Mozilla browsers like Firefox, okay? So it should be supported on all of them, all right? All right, there isn't a massive amount left to do, but if you want, just as a quick saving point, you can copy all that, the whole page if you want to. Go back to here and just replace the contents of your CSS file. That way, if you accidentally refresh the page, you haven't lost any of your style. Anyway. So under that, we'll just style the form. I'll try and move a bit more quickly. I know this video is taking a long time already. Display, flex. So the form, which is inside the login container element, is going to be using flexbox. And the form, of course, is where the inputs are. And then underneath that, I'm just going to say flex direction. It's going to be column, like this. Now, flex direction, like the name suggests, is the direction in which the elements are going to flex. So the default, if you don't specify a direction, is row, which means all of the elements are positioned in a flexible manner on the same row, whereas this way means they're positioned in the same column, like this. So if I change that back to row, you'll see they're all on the same row, whereas column means they're all in the same column. So one column downwards, all right? Essentially means they're positioned vertically, one above the next. All right, just the input fields to go, and then we're good. So let's input square brackets type equals text like this, and then what I'm going to do is a comma, and I'm copy and paste that line, paste it below, and this will be type equals email, and I'll do it one more time for type equals password. I'll get rid of that last comma and then instead do a curly brackets. So we're basically saying that this style in here will be applied to inputs with the type equals text, inputs with the type email, and the type password. Because the username one is type text, the password one is type password, and we don't have it yet, but when we do the register page, we'll have an email text box as well. Let's go ahead and give it a margin bottom of 20 pixels. We'll then say padding is going to be 5 pixels and then 10 pixels. Border radius is going to be 2 pixels. So rounding the corners ever so slightly. The border is going to be 1px solid, and then the color is going to be DE, like this. Alright, so you can see it's very slightly bordered. And then finally, background color is going to be another value I have right here. It's almost white, but not quite. It's F2, 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 like that. You can see it's a gray color. Alright. Okay, awesome. There's only one more thing to style, and that is the button, the submit button right there. So underneath there, input is going to be type equals submit. Alright, bear with me. We're nearly there. You can do it. Background color is going to be that blue we used above, which was 0099FF, which is the same as the background. Color is going to be white, so FFF, or you can write white, like I said before. That is the text color. Border is going to be none, which gets rid of the border around the button. And then we've got border radius is going to be 2 pixels, and last but certainly not least is going to be margin bottom, which is going to be 10 pixels, which essentially pushes the text, that link underneath, away from the button. Alright, we did it. I'm going to copy all that so I don't accidentally refresh a page, and that would be very sad. I'm going to replace that whole CSS file contents with that. And if I refresh the page now, you should see the style there. So this is a very simple style. As you can see, it's nothing too crazy. Maybe you want to spend some more time on this, but I really didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, on the style of it anyway. So this is a good starting point if you just want something which looks half decent, okay? Whew, that was a lot. Sorry the video took so long. I really wanted to get this video done a bit quicker. But at the same time, sorry if I was breezed through that much faster than you would have hoped for. As always, if you have any questions at all about anything we've just done, just let me know.